Hello and welcome to another planning appeal case study video. I'm John Peters, and in this video I'm going to explain how we overcame a recent refusal by Bexley Council for one of our clients. This planning appeal was to overcome the prior approval refusal for a proposed single-storey rear extension that was refused by the local authority Bexley Planning Department. Our client was initially booked in for a free, no obligation consultation to run through the refusal reasons that had been used by Bexley Council and to evaluate if an appeal was viable or if an alternative option would be best suited for them. The free no obligation consultation, which took around 15 minutes, found that this case was viable for appeal to the Planning Inspectorate, taking the decision process away from Bexley Council Planning Department. This case was refused by Bexley Council for the following reasons. An objection relating to the proposal had been received. The council considered the depth of the extension from the rear elevation combined with its height next to the boundary would be obtrusive and would have an overbearing impact, causing harm to the outlook of the neighbouring property, which would be harmful to the amenities of the adjoining property. This is absolutely the most common refusal type we come across for prior approval planning refusals, and these are the most successful types of appeals. This is due to when you actually start putting the objection under scrutiny, it is often found that a single-storey rear extension has little or no additional harm compared to the existing boundary treatment that's already in place most of the time. The Planning Inspector in this case identified the main reason for this case was the effect of the proposal on the living conditions of the occupiers of number 37 with specific regard to outlook. The Inspector stated in the appeal decision the proposal would be single-storey with its rear building line similar to that of the adjoining structure of the rear of number 37. The roof of that existing covered area is translucent and as such would not permit views of the proposal, which would project only modestly above the existing boundary treatment. As such, the proposed rear extension would be scarcely perceivable from within the covered area of number 37. Moreover, the otherwise open aspect towards the rear of the garden would be unaffected by the proposal, maintaining current outlook from the rear floor, windows and covered area of 37. Accordingly, I conclude that the proposed development will be acceptable in terms of its effect on the living conditions of the occupiers of number 37 within specific regard to the outlook. As I've already said, these types of prior approval refusals are very common and some of the most successful types to appeal. We often see clients return to us who've decided not to use us and have not been successful with their own appeal, as they decided to either produce an appeal themselves or use an organisation whose appeal style is not as structured as ours. Unfortunately, at that point we can no longer help them. Many of you who have similar refusals are repeatedly stating to us that you've had little or no correspondence throughout the application process, and the first thing you knew was receiving the refusal notice from the council, and in some cases when you receive a letter from ourselves. We completely understand that the planning process can be very frustrating, the costs involved, the time it takes and so on, but do remember we deal with this on a daily basis for others just like yourself. With planning appeals, experience really does matter. Our specialist appeals team, who handle over 2.5% of all planning appeals in England and Wales that are currently produced and submitted, start by producing a comprehensive and robust appeal statement that in this specific case covered 10 pages and just over 1,500 words. It's important to detail in the appeal statement where the local authority failed in their assessment of the case and how, where possible, both local and national policy applies in favour of the appeal. Additionally, if possible, bringing in similar cases that the Planning Inspectorate found in favour of the appeal. Obviously, with the back catalogue we have of wins, we're able to use these cases and what the inspector said in them as additional argument to support the case we're working on. Once an appeal statement is completed, we send the document to our client asking them to check that they are happy for us to submit the case. If we need to add any additional information that the client may have forgotten previously to supply, it's done at this point and the case is then submitted. It's vitally important that all documents and responses are submitted on time throughout the process. Failure to do so will result in the appeal failing and not being successful. Something we hear about often when people attempt an appeal for the first time themselves. Always ensure you use a professional who has considerable experience of appeals. It's worth asking them for some recent case studies that have been successful, like you find on our website. Due to the large number of cases we represent, we have a dedicated team that liaises with the Planning Inspectorate on a daily basis. For this appeal, an independent planning inspector from the Planning Inspectorate visited the site on the 10th of October, and we're pleased to confirm that the appeal was upheld and the permission granted on the 28th of November in a 3-page appeal decision. If you'd like to find out if we can help you with your planning appeal, complete our online form on our website www.planningappealsuk.com, and our new case support team will arrange for a free, no obligation consultation with one of our planning appeal assessment professionals. Thank you for taking the time to watch this planning appeal case study video, and I look forward to producing the next one very shortly. Bye for now.